Poland, the land that has given us pierogi, Copernicus, me, and as it turns out, one of the most interesting AIO coolers I have seen in quite a while. This is the Navis F240 ARGB from SilentiumPC, and this thing has quite a few aces up its sleeves that you might not expect. Unless you recently suffered head trauma, you can probably gather from the name that this is a 240mm ARGB AIO, which there is more than enough on the market. There are a few things that really jumped out at me when it comes to this one. For example, when I unboxed it earlier on this channel, the fans already came not only pre-attached, but with all the cable management done on them as well. The cable managed fans in question are two 120mm units, with each one being able to reach up to 1800 RPM, so yep, these are speedy boys. Not to mention the most important part, they're ARGB. So when it comes to the CPU block, well, it's more of a mixed bag. While it does have a pretty nice and clean look with a machine top for the SilentiumPC logo, there's nothing really too special about it. In this day and age when things like RGB, flow indicators, temperature readouts, and waifus are commonplace on many AIO CPU blocks, this one is noticeably more quaint. So if you are after a minimalist aesthetic, then hey, here's an AIO for you. But for others, well, it may leave you a bit cold. Get it? Cold because it's an AIO? I'll see myself out. Though thankfully the installation process is pretty straightforward, if not for the fact I had to take off the fans, which is so nicely pre-attached because otherwise it wouldn't fit in my case, but oh well. The one thing I very quickly noticed is that it doesn't have mounting support for the AM3 Plus socket, which granted not many people use nowadays, but still, literally the only AMD socket it supports is AM4. Once I figured out I can't install this on my AM3 Plus test bench, the process of doing it on my AM4 motherboard was pretty straightforward, and now that it's all assembled, it's time to look at the most important part. The thermals. At low idle temperatures, the AIO kept the CPU's temperatures ideally low, and if we threw something like Cinebench at it, it spiked all the way up to 60s and pretty much stayed there, while when running Shadow the Tomb Raider, it mainly fluctuated between 50 and 60 degrees. And if you're wondering what kind of impact this kind of 240mm AIO is gonna have on your graphics card, well, it did make my TNTI run rather hot, which makes sense seeing how when mounting it to the front of the case, it greatly limits the amount of airflow going straight to a graphics card. And especially seeing how graphics cards are only getting hotter and hotter every single generation, well, that's something to look out for. Now, let's do a proper drag race between this and my EK 120mm AIO, not only to see which company makes better AIOs, but also to see exactly if you need a 240mm AIO in the first place, or if a 120mm is enough. So we're going to pin the fans at maximum and see exactly how the two compare. And as you can imagine, the larger radiator was able to dissipate more heat. Who would have thought? And keep in mind that these tests were done using the included PT2 thermal paste that came with the Navis F240. Now before I move on to pricing, there's one more thing I should probably mention because it just kind of made me laugh. And that is this thing, the Nano Reset ARGB Controller, which allows you to even set the RGB on the fans even when your motherboard does not support RGB. You do it by basically connecting it up to say the power, your RGB fans, and also the reset switch to go between a few different options. And for as cool as it is, I gotta say, come on, you have this thing for older motherboards that don't support RGB, but you don't have AM3 Plus compatibility? But hey, what can I say? RGB of course takes higher priority than motherboard compatibility. Jokes aside, it is a gimmick, but at least it's a pretty fun one, so hey, if you don't have a motherboard that supports RGB, these guys have you sorted. Now when it comes to pricing, it's kind of confusing seeing how this thing isn't available in all regions just yet. But here in the UK, it's going to cost you roughly £85. Though keep in mind that we do have a 20% VAT here that's going to balloon the cost of this thing. And overall for that price, this thing is actually pretty good. And for that price, this thing is actually pretty good. While it doesn't do anything extremely well, there is just such a charm to this product, I guess you could say. Between the care that went into it by attaching the fans and even cable managing it, to the adorable little RGB controller it comes with, to even the fact that instead of a boring old corporate warranty void if removed sticker, on this thing you have just a polite notice telling you not to remove it. Something about it just kind of puts me in a good mood, you know, and not just because it comes from my own home country. So while it's not the greatest AIO in the world, the price is good and it does enough things right to still warrant a recommendation. Because this thing, in its own weird way, is kind of adorable. What's even more adorable though is all my viewers who support me on Patreon, because even if you give just $1 a month, it truly goes a long way in helping me make better videos while you get awesome perks as well. I'd also like to thank my existing patrons Gavin Burns, Ryan OKB, Meg Sumner, Shane Allcraft, Lansby and Jesse Herman. Thank you guys so much, support truly goes a long way. Down there you're also going to find our merch store, our Discord server and our social media links as well. But anyway, that's about it, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then remember to subscribe, like, whatever, and I'll see you all whatever I make next. Goodbye everyone, goodbye.